Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from CRT Designs and today I have my first PenPal Pocket to share with you. So let's jump right in. So I created this template out of the back of a paper pad. So it's kind of more like a cardboard-esque piece of cardstock, and it just kind of gave me the base for how this pocket's going to come together. So I did use the Crafter's Companions Bell Countryside, I believe is what this is called. It's no longer available, but any pattern paper would work for this. This is just what I happen to have, and I think it's stunning, so I had to use it. So to start, we're going to score each side. So this is how I'm going to do it. It's not maybe the easiest way to do it based on that template, but I just kind of thought this was how it worked for me. So I scored the first side at the 3-inch mark, the second side at the 4-inch mark, and then this one is the 3-inch mark, and then again at the 4-inch mark. So I just rotated it around. You could, of course, just leave it in the one position and then just score it the way you like, right like this. I chose not to. I chose to kind of rotate it because it made sense to me, but you don't have to do it that way. And then as I showed you on the template, on the top corners, I'm going to cut them off completely. So this is, I'm going to use my shears to do it, and I'm cutting on the score lines. So I know where the score lines meet. I can see them. I know it's kind of difficult to see on camera, but I can see them as I cut them. And then to make sure that they're squared up, I will cut them on the score line this direction as well. I folded it so it would be slightly easier to see. And then the bottom two corners, I'm going to cut them all the way up, but these will not cut right away. This is kind of a choice. I mean, I'm going to turn these into pockets, just because I think they're really pretty, but I mean, it's kind of up to you. So the whole premise of this, right, is that these fold in and then the two flaps kind of fold down. And then this is the base of the whole, I'm calling it a PenPal Pocket. I've heard it called several things like One Page Wonder, and like I've heard different names for this. I'm just calling it a PenPal Pocket because I intend to send it to a pen pal and it has a bunch of pockets on it. So really it's kind of up to you what you want to call it, but that's what I'm calling it. And then here you just see me tidying it up a little bit to make the folds easier. You don't need to do this. It does fold, but because I'm mailing it, I want it to be as flat as possible. So I'm going to go in and kind of clean up some of the areas. And that template that I showed you in the beginning is available on my blog as like there's an image there, so you can go and check it out in greater detail if you'd like to. I had made it already on the template, so I'm just kind of winging it, honestly. But at this point, it's totally up to you, because now really all we're going to do in this video is decorate it. So it's really up to you how it turns out in the end. I'm pretty excited about how mine came together. I love it, actually. I'm a little, I don't know who to send it to now. It's so funny, hey, like generally I make cards and I have no problem sending them out. But when I make something I love, I don't want to send it anywhere. So then I'm always a little, kind of like, now what do I do? So I brought it back into my 12-inch scoreboard, and I'm scoring the 1-inch mark for these bottom flaps that we cut up, what we didn't cut off. Because in my template, I kind of cut them on an angle. So I'm showing you here, like, you don't have to, you can leave them. You could just leave these as pockets. I created an angled flap when I did this. So that's what I'm going to do on this one as well. But really, I actually make these into tuck spots, not pockets, but you can do whatever you like. So I cut the first one, and I cut it on an angle from the 1-inch mark, which is why I score it there. And then I was going to cut this one, and then I decided it would be way smarter to actually mark it so that they match. So I laid it on there, and I'm going to bring in a pencil and just do a little mark where I've cut it on an angle so that they actually match. It doesn't really matter that they match, honestly, because I think this turns out really pretty, and you can kind of square it up as you go if you need to, but I thought the angles looked really pretty. And then I'm just showing you here that I'm going to bring in some lace, and this little container is actually a sunglasses container I got off Amazon, but it holds all my washi tape and little bobs really well, so I put my little lace in there as well. And I bought this lace to go in a junk journal that I want to make, but I thought it would look stunning on this, so I brought it in here as well. And I'm just going to cut some pieces to kind of go on the flaps that I've done on an angle. But again, decorate with what you have, right? Like, this is all stuff that I already have in my stash. I didn't buy anything specific for this project. It was all stuff I already owned. So you can, of course, purchase things if you want to. But I did recently find out that this pattern paper that I used is no longer being made. I didn't even realize it, but I bought it the end of last year, I think. Somewhere at the end of 2021, and they have discontinued it since. So I'm going to use it because I have it in my stash and I think it's stunning. But I mean, any pattern paper will work. Of course, you can, whatever you've got in your stash that you love the design on. So I brought in that lace, and I'm using some matte medium for this. I was a little concerned that it might not adhere well. So I'm using matte medium specifically just because I know it adheres fabric really well. So I don't know if any other glue, it probably would work fine. It's just, this is what I have. So this is what I'm going to use for this. And I just kind of adhered the lace along the edge there with that matte medium. So, I mean, there's no right or wrong way to decorate. I think that this project is one of my favorite in a while. So I'm pretty excited to share it with you guys, and I did kind of tap it with my finger. And you see that piece of white duct tape stuck on my finger. It's because I smashed my nail into the countertop in our kitchen recently and I cracked my nail. So I'm trying desperately to make sure my nail doesn't rip off and like bleed. So I am using a piece of white duct tape to hold the nail so that it doesn't crack anymore and it doesn't rip off and hurt me. So that is why I have this odd piece of duct tape stuck on my fingernail, but it's just so I can brace the nail. But I'm sure I will fix it very soon, and you probably won't see it again, but I just kind of thought that was funny. And everybody has to comment on it, of course, like, what the heck's going on with your finger? Yeah, I know. It looks silly, but it's better than having a bleeding finger. So I figured I could start a trend with duct tape on my finger instead. So here you just see me trimming off the lace that's kind of hanging out of the edges, and I did trim it on the same angle that the pockets will have. They're actually tuck spots, but so that they would look really pretty like that. And then I'm going to kind of get a slightly wider piece of lace. And this lace, all of it that I showed you in that sunglasses case, actually came together in a package on Amazon. So I'll link that down below if you're interested. I thought it was pretty neat. I don't own much for lace and fabric in my stash because I've never really used it, but I love how it looks. So I had to bring some in. And then here you see that I'm kind of trying to measure out how I want to attach this piece of lace to the front. So I do end up making a small cut with my scissors so that I can line it up in my trimmer and then get a straight edge on it. Again, I mean, I went for straight edges on this because it was my first project and I wasn't totally sure how this was going to turn out. Honestly, it was pretty much just me sitting down and playing with a bunch of supplies I had in my studio, my office, and this is just kind of what I've came up with. So there's no real rhyme or reason for any of what I did in this. It's just what I thought would look neat and how I thought it would turn out, and that's pretty much all, to be honest with you guys. And I had a blast. This was so much fun to create just because it's kind of out of my norm. And pen paling is very near and dear to me. I have several pen pals all over the world. I love writing to them. They're amazing ladies. And this is just kind of a fun way to send this one specifically for one person, obviously. I might have to recreate it though. It turned out so pretty. And then here you can see that I'm creating a tuck spot. So I'm not going to turn it into a pocket. I did make it a tuck spot, so I only adhered one edge of it so that things could kind of go in and out the side. You saw I just stuck my finger in it there. You could create a pocket and just glue it on both sides. I just left it like this because I thought it would give me a little more room to do what I needed to do to fit things in there. I'm going to fill it up with some ephemera and whatnot later as we keep going here. And I am going to clean it up as we go. You see me, like, I'll trim off little pieces just to make it close better. And then we're going to get into really decorating the envelope we do decorate an envelope near the end, but we're going to kind of decorate the pocket as we kind of go here. And I just try out different things. So I'm going to give the center of the pocket a belly band. This is where the letter will go. As well as some extra ephemera that I'm going to stick in that's too tall to fit in those little tuck spots that I've made on the edges. This was, see, again, I'm really honestly just playing. Like, I had this piece of leftover vellum. This is a heavyweight vellum I use for embossing usually. And I just thought it would be a great way to hold the letter in the center so it didn't slide around. And then I'm just kind of giving it my own scored edges. I kind of eyeballed it to where I wanted it in the center there. And I just kind of pushed down where I wanted it to score. And then I'm going to bring in, I think it was like a 3/4 inch score tape. to actually adhere the belly band to the pocket. And you're going to see that I'm going to adhere a lot closer to the edge, than the score line. And this is just so that if my letter is thick, it will still fit. Because at this point, I still haven't written the letter, to be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure who I'm sending this to. I just really wanted to make a pocket. And I have a bunch of amazing pen pals, so we'll see who it ends up getting sent to. But so I used my scoring tool just to press down on the Scor-tape to make sure that it adhered well to the vellum. And then I wasn't sure where I wanted to put the pocket, so I kind of played with the idea a little bit. I moved it up and down a few times. The pocket, it's a belly band. I do end up putting it in the center. I think that was the best place for it so that it would hold the letter on both sides a little easier than having the letter kind of tip out the top because the belly band's not very wide. But I mean, again, this is all just playing. You could add a pocket in the center if you wanted to. There's no right or wrong for this. And then I'm going to bring in that piece that I trimmed off earlier to adhere that piece of lace, and I'm going to put it across the belly band just for a little added extra decoration. At this point, honestly, we're just decorating it. So, excuse me, whatever you prefer is going to be beautiful. There's no right or wrong here. We've, created the foundation. It's all made. We're just kind of adding bits and bobs to make it look pretty and be fun. So there's no right or wrong. Here I've done a little collage with a couple of different pieces of ephemera. I think most of this is from Tim Holtz. I think it's the thrift shop ephemera. I kind of have my ephemera in containers from Micheal's, so I try to label them so I know what I'm playing with, but as a general rule, honestly, I just grab whatever looks fun and use it. So there's no real rhyme or reason to what I do. I just kind of add things as I think that they'll look good. So I kind of adhered all my ephemera down, and I'm just kind of making a little collage here with different pieces of ephemera that I just thought would look pretty and add a little interest to this front. Well, this isn't the front. This is the first flap you see once you've opened it. And I mean, again, you could add pockets. You could add multiple different things. I went for a collage because it's flat and I know that I'm going to mail this. So I'm trying to eliminate as much bulk as possible, but still have fun, pretty things in the pockets. So here I have some ephemera. This big camera is from the Vicky Papineau Create Happiness launch. It's a piece of ephemera from her stuff. There's a couple of them. I'm going to bring them back in when I use, or when we decorate the envelope at the end. And then these are just some transparent butterfly stickers. I think I got these off Amazon. I will link and list everything below that I can find. Some stuff has been in my stash for so long, I'm not even sure where some of it's from, to be honest. But anything that I can recall will be linked and listed down below if you're at all interested. And I did have to move this around a little bit, so you saw that it was pretty forgiving. It didn't have any issues lifting it back up to kind of just make sure that I aligned it nicely on the front. And I don't decorate every side. You absolutely can. I didn't. I kind of just decorated the front and then the first pocket, or the first flap you see, and then the inside. So it's really up to you how much you do or don't add. And then I added another one of those little butterflies to the belly band. And then I'm kind of putting a couple of pieces of ephemera in here, just making sure that my tuck spots work and everything's going to kind of lay nicely however I want it to. And then this is where I think I realized that those little pieces that I cut off the top of these tuck spots would make beautiful pockets. So I'm going to adhere these as actual pockets. So I did put glue along each edge, and I'm going to adhere them over top of the tuck spots because they're the same angle, right? Because they're cut together. So they're on the exact same angle. So they just create great little pockets on these tuck spots. So it's just extra places to put ephemera and still use all of the things that we have used from this one sheet wonder, or this one piece of 12 by 12 cardstock. As I'm trying to just kind of use whatever was laying on my desk, honestly, and then a bunch of ephemera stuff that I thought would go kind of cool with this. So I'm going to stick that little stamp in there, and that's a sticker, I believe. And then I'm going to work on the envelope. So this is the envelope design. I used, I had I think it's 4x6, but it's slightly larger. I think that this ended up being 4¼ by 6 or just over 6 inches. And I happen to have this 4x6 or just over envelope in my stash. So I used this to go with this pocket. Otherwise, I would have just made my own envelope. But I did happen to have one that worked. And I brought in some vintage photo distress ink because I felt like this was just a bit too white. So I really wanted to kind of add a little bit of a vintage effect to it because that pattern paper really has that look. And I did bring in some more elements from the Create Happiness launch. That's the ephemera, that's the 2 butterflies, the little flower, and the leaves. The ripped paper is from the One Sheet Wonder. It's the pieces I cut off to make the little like rectangles that the squares fold up on. That's these pieces. And then there's just some other random ephemera that I have in my stash. That tag will have the address on it when I go to actually mail this out. And I'm just going to adhere everything down on the envelope. I used my Barely Art glue and kind of tried to be a bit light-handed in how much glue I added, but make sure it was fully covered so that it wouldn't lift in the mail. I have a lot of pen pals that are like I have some that are American. I have some in Europe. I have some in the UK. I think I have one in Ireland. So I have one in Canada. So I have a fair mixture of ladies that I write to. So depending on where this goes, it might have to go a long way. So I really don't want things to lift and rip off, but I really want not to warp the envelope with glue either. So it's kind of a hidden balance to get everything to adhere nicely and not lift and warp while I'm working on it. And these embellishments or ephemera from the Vicky Papineau release are actually all stickers. So they're pretty easy. You can just lift them off. They are slightly thicker. I think that they're actually like a chipboard as opposed to just a piece of cardstock. So they have a little more weight to them, but I quite like that. So it just adds a little more dimension to the project. And I did adhere these little leaves onto the back of the flower and then just had to lift off their sticker piece. And they're a bit interesting to get off because they're laser cut. They're very specific where they are, and they are a little interesting to get off, but I do manage to get them off, so it's okay. And then I just have that little butterfly left, and I did go around the whole envelope as well as the flap later just to add a little more dimension and a little more of that vintage-esque look. So, and now I'm going to show you some final shots of how everything turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that this is going to be a fun series that we get to kind of look at different ways to make pen pal stuff. I mean, in my world, it's pen pal. It doesn't have to be in yours. It can be, just happy mail or something that you add to your journal or whatever you want to do with it. It's just kind of ideas and fun ways to play. So I am all finished this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Let me know your feedback in the comments below. If you enjoyed this or you didn't, that's okay too. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you'll leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.